My passing down the street will be over.
Evangelical charismatic.
Evangelical.
Charismatic.
Evangelical what?
Charismatic.
Oh, why is that different than regular Christianity?
Well, there is no regular Christianity per se. I mean, everything is denominational, right? So, for example, you know, like the church I grew up in, it wasn't a, you know, it wasn't an Anglican church or a Catholic church or a Pentecostal church or
Not for me.
it was, you know, it was a...
I mean that.
I grew up in like a house church with people who, there weren't any sort of like, really like regulations. It's like you couldn't be a vicar of our church. It was just people who, I don't know, believed in God. And a big part of the church I grew up in, it's all about the environment and like charity and poverty. So it's all about sort of like, you know, the kingdom of God. You've heard of the kingdom of God, right? So it's all about like bringing the kingdom of God to earth, and how you do that is just by basically making sure that, I mean, over half the world's children live in poverty. Yeah. So my church would say that's, you know, that's, I guess, evil and wrong. I think that's evil. And so the idea would be that, you know, you build this utopia on earth where like no one lives in poverty, no one gets taken advantage of, nobody is has none where other people have so much. That theology, I think. But the point is, it's not just being nice, I guess. You believe that, you know, only Christ can bring those things about.
Yeah.
And I went home and I started throwing this porcelain doll on the carpet, and it just wouldn't break. And you know when you kind of throw something and you don't really mean to throw it hard, you know, but you kind of want to throw it hard, you just don't really have the guts. Anyway, I kept throwing this thing, and then it bounced off something, and the head snapped off, and the crook snapped off, and then I cried, and then I cried and cried and cried, basically. Eventually, I reached the end. I don't want my wheels clamped. I want them aligned. But just because you're a girl, they're not interested unless, you know. Your casual pat on the back with a knife. Have you been noting down all the bits of the riddle so far? No one will ever be able to know the truth. If there are people in the world who are evil, it's very, very few people. Maybe Hitler, maybe Mussolini, maybe a serial killer, but not just normal people. I mean, people don't kill because they think it's fun, generally. I mean, it's a very, very, maybe, yeah, some people do, but it's a very small percentage. Most people who do bad things do them because they believe that it's going to make the world a better place. I parked my car in the car park of Leisure World. Such perfection. Collect your thoughts. James Corden. Where would I know him from? What?
Wow. You think sadly.
Wow, you think sadly. That's the last time I'll see snow in London. And if I do see snow in London again, it'll be like once more in my entire life.
The newspaper reminded me that even though one's only 21, one can go from a lurch from the heart so to May 25 is quite good, right? I mean, everybody's so ignorant and unintelligent, but still somehow so able and well equipped. So there's a good reason to try to save her. How hilarious is that?
Pretty hilarious.
To grow accustomed to. I'm a Christian, and I can see how you could go on that whole like, oh, if you only did this or took over this country and did that, then the world would be a better place. But that's really not how life works.
How life works. Got bits of it down to a bullet list thanks to talking to Rillabee. So it never happens all at once. It's lived forward because backward would be boring. Its speed is a bit on the much side. These sorts of things, you gotta find a spell and go under, at least for a little while sometimes. Try never to refuse any invitation you think won't kill you. There'll be something early on to mess you up permanently. So don't even bother seeking untouched happiness.
I couldn't walk with you when you were normal.
There's something so funny about today. The sky's too sunny or too blue. It's all okay. I mean, I guess I was just saying everything's gonna be okay in the end. I mean, what is the worst that can be done to you? I mean, okay, you could get tortured and your whole family could die and get tortured in front of your eyes, but statistically that's really unlikely. Well, in this country anyway. Collect my thoughts. What we need is to collect our thoughts. Only getting up to express curiosity. In my head, I've set up an elaborate network of dire events. What we need is to collect our thoughts. The dog recumbent on a grass slope.
Speaking of all-time recumbent, Edgar always reckoned that he thought the ancient Asians must have visited the ancient Egyptians because he reckons the Sphinx has a Chinese face and you can see it in low light. And Edgar would know because when he was a kid he had a stuffed Sphinx doll, which is a pretty serious thing for a kid to have.
It's always nice to see a policeman badgering a beggar. Only door light to right by makes you strain for words. I don't know what you mean sometimes. You just talk nonsense. So there's a good reason to try and save her.
Are you angry with me?
I'm cold. Only getting up to smile and wag a tail. Yeah, collect my thoughts. Collect my thoughts? And he had stolen, because that was the kind of school it was, he had stolen this sort of like porcelain doll, you know, it was like a blue and white porcelain doll, and it was like a shepherdess, right? And it had like a big skirt and a crook and a little hedge, and I think he'd stolen it from his mother or something, and he gave it to me as a present, and I was too scared to tell my mother about it actually, because I knew that she'd make me give it back, and I really wanted to keep it, you know, because it was, I thought it was kind of beautiful, but not, I kind of really liked the fact he'd stolen it for me, I think, more than anything. And we broke up one day. I think we had this terrible argument. I don't know what we argued about. We were 7.